To understand the origins of the Green Berets, you have to go back to their founder, Colonel Aaron Bank, a man with strong connections to Vietnam. He had spent part of World War II fighting the Japanese alongside Ho Chi Minh, the future leader of communist Vietnam. During World War II, Bank was a leading figure in the Office of Strategic Services. The OSS, the precursor to both Special Forces and the CIA, supported a resistance network of partisans in enemy-held Asia and Europe.
They would parachute in the middle of the night. They would contact and link up with resistance leaders. They were language experts, demolitions and weapons experts.
The OSS armed and trained the resistance forces. They used whatever weapons were at hand. Often, this meant shotguns. Or else they worked with captured German arms, like the compact MP40 and MP28 submachine guns.
They could train a battalion or more of locals to create havoc behind the enemy lines and to tie down large numbers of the enemy force.
These operational detachments of the OSS were the fathers of the Green Berets. When the war was over and the Cold War battle lines were drawn, Bank saw a need for a force capable of fighting and teaching in hostile countries.
In 1952, he pulled together 10 guys. They stood on Smoke Bomb Hill at Fort Bragg, and they called them the 10th Special Forces Group. And it's interesting, they called it the 10th because they wanted the Soviets to think there were 9 others before them. It was sort of a propaganda thing.
A new branch of the Army was born, U.S. Special Forces. The mission, to raise a body of men capable of fighting guerrilla wars in Soviet Europe should the need arise.
They recruited Ukrainians, Poles, East Germans, Romanians, Hungarians, and others. The idea, you see, was they would be familiar with territory behind the Iron Curtain.
Little is known about the clandestine missions that these trailblazers carried out behind the Iron Curtain. But as the Cold War spread, so did the Special Forces Theater of Operations. Each group of elite fighters and teachers were organized into 12-man A-teams.
Move out.
These ground teams are supported by a Bravo team and a Command and Control Charlie team. Everyone within those groups had a unique role. Crucial was the training and weapons.
We trained on all the weapons of the world back to World War I. In all my time in Africa, I would run into British 303s. I would run into British Stens and Sterlings, M1s, M14s.
The AK-47 is the most popular gun in the world, so everybody pretty much knows how to work on that. But you know, you have bolt-action rifles in Afghanistan. Whatever's on the battlefield, we're going to pick up and use.
The clandestine combat roles of the Green Berets also had roots in another legendary unit of World War II. Besides the operational detachments of the OSS, Special Forces had a connection to the feared Devil's Brigade. The first Special Service Force, known as the Devil's Brigade, was a joint force of American and Canadian commandos. The unit won fame behind German and Italian lines in World War II. Green Berets traced their lineage back to this band of heroes. Like today's Green Berets, they went into battle with hand-picked weapons. The regular U.S. Army used the legendary BAR. The Devil's Brigade preferred the Johnson light machine gun.
This is the Johnson light machine gun. It was used by the 1st Special Service Force. What this was a lighter Browning automatic rifle, if you will.
The Devils prized it for lightness and accuracy. When you're a commando deep behind enemy lines, the last thing you want is a heavy gun. Or tons of unnecessary ammo. The accuracy all boiled down to one piece of design genius.
If you draw a line through this weapon, from the muzzle to the back end, you'll find that the line of recoil is right here. Weapons that don't have that have a tendency to rise.
The Johnson light machine gun was not adopted in great numbers. To understand the airstrike story, you have to rewind 60 years. The coordination of small elite ground teams and air power dated back to World War II. The Office of Strategic Services again set the template for the Green Berets' use of air power. OSS officers like Special Forces founder Aaron Banks parachuted into enemy territory. They then trained partisan forces in weaponry and tactics. The OSS agents also used the locals' knowledge to identify enemy positions.
Leading up to the Normandy invasion, for example, they teamed up with what were called Jedburgh teams across France, and they would go throughout an area along the coastline and try to locate all of the German positions that may be hidden from aerial photography.
These Jedburgh teams then used secret radio sets to pass on hundreds of Nazi positions. Many of these targets were then neutralized by high-altitude heavy bombing raids or by fast attack mosquito bombers zipping in under radar.
Machine gun positions, anti-tank guns, and this type of thing. And they would mark them very accurately on a map so that advancing soldiers would find them or they could be taken out from the air.